G'day and welcome to A Down Under Yarn. I am your host Fiona, also known as Fifykins. I am Fifykins on Ravelry, on Plurk, on Twitter, on all sorts of other things. Sorry about the light. I've sort of been waiting to record for the last hour and a half, but the neighbours decided to gurney across the road and Mimmel's been over mowing my lawn, which has just been fantastic, and there was no way I wanted him to stop. So it means we're just going to put up with the light. It's Sunday the 6th of January 2013 and it's about 5:30 in the evening, so the light's just going down here. We find up here in the tropics we don't get dusk, we get light then we get dark, so I've got enough time I think just to record, but there may be some splatters of light as it goes down just through my tree. I have moved the camera around so that I'm facing this way today, because before I just had this huge, see I've got most of it out of the way now, I had this huge white face, which really wasn't very flattering. I'm pretty amazed at the response I got at last week's podcast, the comments I've had through Ravelry, through Plurk, and friends emailing and texting me and things like that, which has really blown me away. Special thanks, I meant to mention last week and I forgot, to Carolyn, who's called Shirley, who gave me the initial encouragement. When Carolyn's father first got sick back in November, she put out a call for people to hold the fort in her girlfriend's knitting podcast, and I put up a couple of short YouTube clips, and it kind of got me in the mood for trying this out a bit more. Shanti Dragon, who also did the same thing at the same time, she's also launched a podcast, Holding the Sticks, so look out for that one as well. But Carolyn has been in my thoughts. Her father has died just before Christmas, and I really wanted to thank her for giving me the push to give this a go. I also would like to thank Amanda, who is Elizabeth Quinton on Ravelry, Elizabeth Quinton Designs, and other places as well, who has the Knitting in the Sun podcast, for absolutely giving me an amazing rap on her podcast this week. I'm sitting there listening, knitting away, and suddenly she gets the podcast of the week, and it's one of my favourite segments on her podcast. But then she starts talking about me, and that was just whoa. So that was a bit freaky actually, to know that there have been people who've been watching. Now I know there were issues last week with the sound. Hopefully that's been rectified. I found the setting in my computer. I haven't been able to update the video quality. We did think we could plug in. I'm recording on my MacBook, which is now almost 7 years old. So it's not a young computer, but it still does its job. But the built-in webcam is not an HD webcam, so it does get a bit pixelated. I think I also overcompressed last week, so I'm going to look at that this week. We did try and incorporate a webcam, a Logitech webcam, but it won't record with iMovie, and I wanted to get this done now, so we'll look into something for next week and see. Hey, it's just an always improving, always evolving thing really. I'm also amazed at the people who've joined the Ravelry group. We've got over 30 members now, which is pretty amazing. So if you go to A Down Under Yarn on Ravelry, you will see the group. You can join the discussions. There's a couple of discussions there. My friend Teresa's asked what other podcasts she thinks people think that she should watch. So it's up to you to sell yourselves if you're another podcaster, or else tell her which podcasts you like watching. I am going to do a blog roll on the side of my blog, which is fifykins.com, and that will list a whole lot of podcasts that I try and catch up with every week. So yeah, the week that was. So the kids have been away. Well, Imogen flew out to Melbourne on Wednesday, which was the 2nd. Jasper's been away all week. My mum and brother are down there, so they've been down staying with them, which is really lovely. They can catch up with them in the holidays. Jasper comes back tomorrow because he's got drama camp, or drama school, it's not camp, starting on Tuesday. Imogen comes back on Wednesday because it's not like we're the royal family and we can't fly together or anything like that, but she wanted a couple of shopping days with Grandma. we had a pretty quiet New Year's Eve. We just lost my picture there, sorry. Had a quiet New Year's Eve. Didn't do very much. I cooked a yummy meal. We had steak on the bone, rib on the bone with smashed potatoes and some broccoli, followed by, I had some panettone that one of the local French bakeries had made over Christmas, which I made into a panettone pudding. So that was a nice way to see off the old year, along with some nice King Island double brie cheese, which is always good. Lovely way to see off the old year. Didn't have much intention of staying up until midnight, but knew that the fireworks would be going off in town and I could hear them out here, so I just potted around. Actually ended up winding some wool on my wool winder and getting quite exasperated. After that, the week and the year, I suppose, hasn't got off to a good start. I found out I lost my job, basically. It's caused me a lot of stress. It's caused a lot of angst, not knowing what the future holds, not knowing what I'll be able to do. I don't want to say too much about it, just that perhaps it wasn't done in the most professional way. And I think I'll just leave it at that. I'm still exceptionally angry. It's causing me a lot of insomnia. I'm surviving on very little sleep. Last night I was still awake at 3, got up, potted around till 4, took a couple of Valium thinking that might help me sleep. Not really. Sort of tossed and turned a bit. So, yep, tomorrow I start again with sending my resume around. I've got a whole lot of people I can send that to. I did actually tentatively apply for a job before Christmas, so I knew that things weren't going well with the company I was working for. And just got an email back, a generic email back yesterday saying we've had over 100 applicants, and that was for a position that I was eminently suited to and eminently qualified for, so I didn't even get an interview. We'll see what happens, see what comes of it. I'm going to probably talk more about that towards the end of the podcast in bits and bobs. Yeah. So, finished objects. I did have a finished object. I think in all my moving around I've left it somewhere else. Not the actual one, the copy. But last week you'll see I did an intersections brake hat. I did another one, and it worked out fantastically well. It was a gift, Christmas gift for a friend's daughter. So that's been, I'm trying to dodge the light here, sorry. That's been gifted to her already, and she apparently loved it. It's the Intersections Brake Hat by Mel of Single Handed Knitter, MSki Knits, and it was knit in the Three Irish Girls Felicity, which is a 50-50 silk merino in the chambray colourway, and it really made the cables pop. It was fantastic, and Mel was right after blocking. Everything's perfect after blocking, we all know that anyway. I'm trying to avoid the light, sorry about this guys. Anyway, so that went down with Imogen to Melbourne to give to this friend. And yeah, that's my only finished object for the week. But I have actually got a lot of knitting in. Let's start with, this is going into whips, Mimmel's birthday socks. As you'll recall, it was his birthday back in October, and he got a hank of yarn, and I said I was going to knit him socks, and I've kind of been putting these off, not only because it's middle of summer and he doesn't necessarily need socks, especially not woolen socks, but I was finding the pattern quite boring. I'm getting photo bombed. Hey Mimmel. He's been out gardening, so yeah, good on him. Anyways, these are his socks. Last week I had finished, I think down to about, they were done about 1.5 inches of the cuff. Well, I did more of the cuff. I did the heel flap, I turned the heel, and I've done all the gusset decreases. Now ready to knit the foot. So I think only knitting half the pattern now on the top needle might make it go a bit quicker, and I do hope to have at least one of these finished for next week. Really loving the yarn. It's knitting up into a beautiful sock. It's Malabrigo sock yarn, and it's in the player colourway, which is a bit of a standing joke with Mimmel and I. Yeah, and yeah, I think once you get to the heel flap, I don't mind knitting heel flaps. I just love turning heels. It's just magical. It's the magic of being able to just turn the heel and see it turn into a sock. Picking up the stitches wasn't so bad. The only thing is I've picked up one over on one of the sides, which isn't really going to matter. There's a tiny hole, but I don't even think I'm going to bother patching it because it's not going to need it. So yeah, so that is the simple Skype sock pattern, which is really a pretty rib pattern in the player colorway. You can see it there. I'm using size 2.5mm needles, which is a US 1.5. My only thing is that yesterday I discovered a huge knot in the yarn. I think I've still kept it, yep. And it had these two big yellow splotches either side, so I cut them out and ended up doing the Russian join. Now, speaking of the Russian join brings me to my second whip, which is my Liesel, which is by Isolde Teague. I am knitting this in brown sheep cotton fleece, which they say is a worsted weight, but I think it's probably more a light worsted DK. It's a black colourway in the Caban colourway. I am knitting this and losing stitches too on 6mm needles. I have gone up a size, so I'm knitting the size 50, I think, hoping to get about a 45, 46. It is an open thing, so it can just fan out type thing, I'm hoping. There's Max in the background meowing. My cats are inside cats, but they like to believe they're outside cats, but they're not. Anyway, that is the right side there. Last week I hadn't separated for sleeves. This week I have. I'm knit a few inches down. Again, the funny thing was I was knitting on this and I came to the end of my ball of wool, hankered wool, and I thought, how am I going to join this? It's cotton, mainly cotton and wool. It's not going to spit splice. I didn't want to have to join in the middle of a feather and fan pattern. So I'm not having much luck with this light, sorry. So I thought, oh look, I'll do some investigation. And I found a braided join, and I thought, yeah, then I saw the Russian twist. So I watched a video on that and did that and kept knitting, and I'm watching my podcasts, and as I'm watching, I am watching Knitting Blooms, and she got to her tutorial on the Russian join. So I was just half an hour too late, that's all. Yeah, but really I am enjoying this. It's knitting up pretty quickly. I've just been knitting on other things as well. So yeah, so you can see the feather and fan. My modifications are the smaller needles because of the yarn. I also did an I-cord cast on, and I'm doing an I-cord selvage as well down the fronts. Yeah, so hopefully that will get finished this week. That's the second ball of wool. I've probably used about a quarter of that, maybe a third maybe. I'm not sure how long I'm going to get it. I've got another ball. I think I'd like to get it down sort of hip length. Then we'll see. I did try it on and dropped a whole lot of stitches, so I'm not trying it on again, especially over this top. And it looked great. It really, I thought once it blocks, it was the perfect size for me. So who knows? My third whip I meant to grab is my Anorami shawl by Olga Bureya Kefelian. I haven't done very much. I just wanted to show you that I've added in the fourth colour and loving the way this is looking now. So this is kind of, I suppose, my mindless get away from it at the moment knitting. Once I've picked up stitches, I can just knit a wedge and that's it. I find that the cotton fleece does hurt my hands after a while, so it's good to have a break. I don't know if I can call this a whip or not. I did say on New Year's Day I was going to cast on my Even Star. Well, I knit the swatch. So here is the swatch. You can kind of see it there. This is in the Skein Merino Silk Lace in the Pastel Sky colourway. So that's, oops, I actually have a yarn bowl which I can talk about a bit later. That's the colour there. It's really pretty blues and greys. I have the second skein in a plastic bag. You can see the variegation there. So yeah, with the job thing, I have been a bit preoccupied and I didn't want to start it until my mind gets in a bit of a better place. I thought there's nothing worse than starting and having to rip and then getting off on the back foot. So the swatch has quite a few errors in. I knew the errors, I picked them up as I came along, but there was no way I was going to tink back in a swatch. I was really doing it to get the size and to test out the 3 different types of decreases. I decided that the second decrease, as described in the pattern, is the one that looked the nicest. So that's the one I'm going to go with. It might just be it's the one I did better on the swatch. I don't know. Anyway, we'll see how we go. I'm not sure when I'm going to cast that on. Yeah. Bet you wish you were here now. Mimmy's spreading blood and bone over the garden and it smells yummy. Just think, you know, crushed up kangaroos and stuff just strewn everywhere. Anyway, you probably didn't want to know that. I've also been doing a couple of secret knitting projects, which I'll be able to show you one of them in a couple of weeks' time, or maybe even next week. The other one is being posted off somewhere and you'll see it somewhere else. Sorry to be a bit cryptic, but hey. I am hoping to knit a snuggle this week. Sadie from the Yarnivore podcast is hosting the Snuggle February Animal Lovers Knit Along, I think, Falcal, I think that's what it is. And I thought about it and I thought, oh, I don't need to post snuggles. And then when I actually found out about the project and found out that the Snuggle project people have a blog, have a website, which I will link to in the show notes. I've left my pen over there, but anyway, Snuggles. And when I looked at it, Innisfail, which is about 80 to 100 kilometres south of us here, has an animal refuge that accepts snuggles. And I thought, I've probably got some time on my hands, I'll be able to jump on my bike and head down there, which will be a nice ride. And I've got plenty of acrylic material here to knit up a couple of snuggles. So yeah, not sure which podcast I'm going to link them with yet. I've had some offers on Clerk already, so we'll see how we go. Acquisitions. I signed up back in the middle of last year. I can say that now, can't I? Middle of last year I signed up for the End of the World Yarn Club. Now there was a waiting list and I got an email beginning of December and said, hey, there's a spot going, would you like it? And I said, yes please. And this week I received my first shipment. Now it was posted I think on the 17th and got here on the 2nd. That is the fastest shipping I've had from the US for absolute eons. I know the next one is probably not going to be here for another 5 or 6 weeks, but still it's just lovely to get this one. So I know you've probably all seen it. A lot of people have seen the fibre, you may not have seen the yarn. This is the December colourway, which is called the Wood. It's fingering weight, 100 grams, 400 yards, Chula to Chula, which is a 3-ply, 2-ply superwash merino, 1-ply merino, and I was blown away with the stunningness. You see, I think you see the fibre especially on other podcasts and you think, oh yeah, that's pretty, that's nice. And then you see it up close and the colours, they blew me away. They are absolutely amazing. So you can see here it goes from the purples into the sort of pinks, the almost cerise, into the it's a peachy, it's not really a peachy, it's a dull pink. It's just stunning, absolutely stunning. And I was watching Kimberlily. I discovered Kimberlily. How come no one had told me to watch Kimberlily before? Anyway, discovered her during the week and she has a new shawl, and I think once that's released I might use this to see how that goes. It's not going to give the full length of her original, but she's just knit a 400 yard shawl and it worked really well. So yeah, with the job situation, I wasn't planning to buy a lot of yarn this year anyway. I have enough here. One of the things I've done this week is to list all of my yarns up on Ravelry, I think except for 2. I think I've still got 2 that I've got on the dining room table that I haven't listed. One's a purple Three Irish Girls, and the other one, I can't quite remember, but I'm pretty sure there's another. There might only be one. So apart from that, everything's up there, and I have a bit of a variety. I don't have a lot of sport weight, but that's okay. I'm in some swaps, and one of the things with the swaps is I give out yarn, so it means I get yarn back, which is always good. I'm going to be cutting down on some of the swaps as well for the time being. I have the rainbow swap coming up with the Australian swappers and the black swap. I have yarn for both of those. I might actually show the rainbow yarn next week. It arrived this week, and it's, you know those times when you order something for someone else and you think I should have ordered another skein for me? Yeah, that. Anyway, so I'm in the Stash Menagerie Yarn Club, which I love. I love the Three Irish Girls colourways. There's something different. I do de-stash a bit of it, especially the bulky stuff. You don't need bulky yarn in the tropics. So it'll be interesting to see what comes. I'll wait and see after February. There's a new yarn being released, and after that there's the new listing of what's there for the next 6 months. I'll wait and see what's there and decide whether or not I'm going to continue. It'll also depend whether or not I have a job by then. Into the world, I can't see myself stopping anytime soon. I think I'd live on lentils for a week if I could get that yumminess. And the other one I get is the Yarn vs Zombies Tea and Stripes colour, Tea and Stripes Club. Now I've received one of those and it's just amazing. For striped sock yarn, one of the reasons I've been going on mineral socks is because I want to get them off the needles so that I can cast on some more stripy socks. Not only for the Stockinette Zombies knit along, but also because I have this amazing yarn now coming every month. And who doesn't love striped socks? So this week, kids are home. Jasper's got drama school, which is good because it means I've got to get up in the morning. I'm trying not to nap in the afternoons, and yeah, look, it is what it is. One of the things I want to do this week is plan for the future. Work out what I want to do. I suppose, to cut a long story short, when I left school I thought I'd wanted to be a teacher and went to uni to study music education. I was a violinist and hated it, absolutely hated it. I hated the music component of it, and then I met my husband and we got married and moved away and stuff like that. Then after Imogen was born in 2000, when she was 22, I went back to uni and studied primary teaching, and also again majored in music, but found it a lot different and loved it, really was enjoying it. Then we got the move up here and I transferred up here. I did very well in my studies. I did well in my pracs. I got to the end of third year and they said, hey, would you like to join the honours program? And I looked at it and I thought, oh yeah. And one of my friends who's a lecturer out there says to me, I think you really would do a good thesis. Why don't you look at science education in primary school? Because that's one of my loves, is teaching science to primary school kids. And I thought, okay, and we devised a project that would look at the self-efficacy of pre-service teachers, so student teachers, with regards to teaching science in primary schools. And one of the programs that they have at the uni, which is designed for showing teachers how easy it is to teach science, and whether or not that program changed the self-belief of these pre-service teachers. So I collected data for that in 2005. That's when things started falling apart with my marriage. My then husband got very sick. I went back to work and found I couldn't study. And since then I've been working to make sure that there's been stuff for the kids. You know, single mum with a mortgage, it's not easy, but at the same time I've got through it all before and I'm sure I'll get through it again. I would love to finish my degree. I've got about 6 months worth to finish. I've got all my data, I just have to write it up. I've got a couple of chapters written. My supervisor says you just need to write 2 or 3 more chapters, which anyway. And if I got that done, I'm not sure now I want to be a teacher after all that. But having the degree would mean that it would open other doors with regards to other opportunities, whether or not I could go on and do some other postgraduate study, do a law degree, do a social work degree, do something else, which would open other doors. So yeah, we'll see what happens there. See what the future brings. I've got to talk to some people this week. I've got to go and register as unemployed. I've got to probably tell the bank. I will see what's going to happen there. You can probably see why I'm not sleeping that well. I will wrap this up soon. We went to the nursery before and bought some more seedlings for the veggie patch. So I've got some sweet potatoes and some carrots to put in, and I think I got some more herbs. My basil. Yeah, somehow last time it went to seed, all the seeds scattered everywhere and it popped up all throughout the garden. This time it hasn't, so I just bought a couple of punnets. It was easier to do that. I've got plenty of chilies in the garden, plenty of lemongrass, so I got some more coriander. Didn't get any fruit trees, which I wanted to because they're too expensive, but we'll see what happens. So I better get those in. It's going to rain tonight. It's now 6 o'clock, it's 28 degrees and it's 88% humidity, so that means the rain's coming even though the sun's out. You can imagine it's just steaming here. It's the joys of living in the tropics. But then again, you'll see it in 6 months' time, I hope, and when people down south in Australia are at the ski fields and knitting their winter woolies, and I'll be up here probably in the same shirt I'm wearing today, sitting out on the deck because it's just gorgeous weather. Once again, thank you. Show notes are available at fifykins.com. I've been accepted onto iTunes, so you can now subscribe to the podcast to watch it through any of your podcast players, be it Downcast or anything else, the iTunes podcast app, which I stopped using a while back after it ate up all my iPad data. Anyway, that aside, thanks for tuning in. If you've got any feedback, give it to me, please. I really appreciated the feedback about the sound last week, and that's something I was able to look into. Again, looking at the quality of the video. And yeah, I've bought the latest iMovie 11, so we'll see how we go with that. I've designed a little logo. Look, it was a 5-minute job with a couple of free clip art pictures, so it's not going to win any awards, but still it's something there. And yeah, I will see you all next week. So happy knitting, crocheting, crafting, whatever you choose to do, and uru. Cheers.